repay them for, which they don't think that you did it right. So it's pretty significant. So we've got two that we're working on. One, and who all was at the meeting we had with FEMA before in here? You were in chat?
Chad.
Okay. We've got a follow-up one on Monday at 10 o'clock. And I need to know if we're gonna have participation, so that I have to post the meeting notice. Do I need to go ahead and post the meeting?
I would think so.
Okay, I'll go ahead and do that.
Yeah, we had to step out of that last one.
Okay, but it's gonna follow up on the stuff that we need to do and the input, the stuff that we can't do right now until we have input, until we do this meeting. And so that's what, but again, this FEMA money is for the roads that were damaged, bridges were damaged, and the trees that were cut and moved to the side of the road. It's not for debris removal. But the debris removal is a totally separate setup. And I've been following Kaufman County and the process they went through. And again, there's three different bids. One is for a grant manager, somebody that is going to manage everything. Second one is for actual debris removal. And that's the person that's going to put the debris, pick the debris up and you dispose of it. And the third is for a monitor. This is a separate company from the debris removal company that monitors the debris removal company. Okay. So I just want to go through the process that we have on, I'll get rid of that. There it goes. Okay, FEMA disaster. First of all, the service provider, that is when we go out, we select a company through a bidding process that is going to be our service provider to actually pick up the debris removal or pick up the debris that's on the side of the road. And that is done through a bidding process. And technically the grant manager company would be the one to help us put that out there. So the service provider sets up multiple debris management sites, DMS. It could be one in every precinct. It could be just 3, you know, it depends. But part of this contract right here and requirements are that the service provider at the DMS sites must have water, lighting, portable toilets, towers. Towers are for the county to be able to monitor the debris that's being brought in, and 24-hour security. The service provider must have a site foreman and staff to operate the site. Service provider must obtain the necessary permits to operate the site. Once all of the debris has been disposed of and removed, whether they burn it or whether they chip it, and they have to haul all the chips and all the ash away and return the site to the original condition. And then the service provider is going to provide all the equipment and staff to remove the debris from the road. Okay, that's the role of the service provider. Okay. Not advancing. Okay, the removal process. This is how it's outlined in the bid package. All trucks that are used by the service provider must be measured and certified for cubic yard volume prior to the main use. And then a truck arrives at the county road on the county road to collect the debris. A county employee fills out relevant information on a load ticket and gives to the driver. The load ticket is a 5-part form that we come up with that the county employee will then, the first county employee will again give it to the driver and fill out the relevant information, the site where it's being picked up, who is, you know, the truck driver, things like that. After the driver, after the truck is loaded with debris, then the truck arrives at the management site, and another county employee validates and signs the load ticket. In other words, validate the cubic yards of debris that's being brought in, signs the load ticket. The truck dumps the debris and then goes back to collect more. Okay, so So the county in this scenario has provide the following people. First, we have to assign a county debris manager that's going to coordinate all the activity in the county. Okay. And then the second, we got per precinct or disaster management site. We got to have one county employee to witness the debris being loaded and provide the load ticket. And then we have to have one county employee at the disaster management site, debris management site, to verify the load and sign the load ticket. So, you know, depending on how many disaster management, debris management sites we have, that's how many employees we would need to have for this process. Okay. The financial commitment. The county basically pays for everything, pays for the service provider for the bid details. The bid detail, they would provide how much they're going to charge to do all this. County pays the debris manager and employees handling load tickets. Reimbursement. The service provider invoices the county bi-weekly, and the county pays the invoices to the service provider. County submits reimbursement request to FEMA. FEMA pays 75% of the cost for valid submissions. If they deem it's not a valid submission or there's inaccurate data, then they don't pay it. And then FEMA may disallow the reimbursement for incomplete documentation. And then the county may collect a 5% administrative fee on the total amount at some point in time. So that's the process for the debris removal. And I have no clue on what the total cost to the county is going to be, but we have to fund it all up front and then get reimbursed from FEMA in that regard. And so, you know, that is a lot of additional work in order to do it. And, you know, some of what my thinking is, well, first of all, I recommend that we don't go out for the debris removal until we've completed the current FEMA project to make sure to find out what we're going to face as far as what they will allow and what they won't allow and the reimbursement priorities. Because we don't want to invest a lot of county money to find out that we're not going to get reimbursed for it in that regard. But, you know, comments, thoughts? I don't know how long this project is going to take. I would assume, since it's merely a documentation process right now and proving what we've done, that it wouldn't take that long. It's not actually involving any additional work.
Do we have to remove the debris? I can't remember what highway I was on the other day. And I'm assuming it's the state. They're not removing the debris. They're using these mulchers and just mulching it up, and they're not picking up the
Right.
the
Picking it up and hauling it, right?
yeah.
They and in fact, I just had an email from one of their contractors requiring, because they have to get permits from the TCEQ and they need county approval for something. I don't know what it is, but
If we get a company that could do that, that would save a lot of that.
that's my contention is we could probably go out and put out bids to have and make the bid per precinct if you want, and select a company to come in and do the either mulch it or haul it off, and they would be responsible for taking care of it. And in the long run, I don't know if it would be cheaper to do it that way. We still will be out of pocket, but we'd be out of pocket for actual work being done rather than a lot of paperwork. And
Would FEMA still cover it if it was mulched up? Because you don't have a debris site.
That's totally acceptable.
I mean, how would you prove? I mean, I say I'm the company, hey, I'm mulched 4517 X amount of cubic yard. I mean, because it's totally different from taking it to a debris site and saying, hey, you had 300 cubic yards.
I don't know all the specifics about that, but I know that all of the debris that's on the county roads is already documented by cubic yards.
So it's already documented, so we have the cubic yards, and if somebody came in there, we started mulching it up. We don't have to worry about debris sites, all this other
Still have
crap.
to get the permitting inside, because you're putting that on the ground. So it still has to be, you still have to go through that permitting process. And just FYI, Judge, we can wait, but A projects, which is debris, and B projects, which is the emergency work that we did on roads. By FEMA standards, we only have 6 months. They will grant extensions. Category C, which is fixing the roads and bridges, we have 18 months. And again, they will do extensions,
Mhm.
but we don't. We probably need to do something pretty soon, because that 6 month mark is November the 16th, I think, 7th, yeah. So that's gonna be here before we can turn around, and we're gonna be looking at doing extensions. And I think they'll only grant one, and I think that's only for a year. And I was curious what Texas was doing do, whether anybody really talks to Texas, we not. Because we don't have that either, right? So what's Texas doing with the debris that's here? I didn't know they were posting it.
I don't know if it was the state or not. That's what they were doing. It was on 773 going up to emergency. They're sitting there just mulching it.
Yeah, it's in, I don't know. I didn't- I can just-
To me, that makes much more sense, but again, you know,
Vicky, if we do this in-house, does it eliminate all this, I assume all this documentation is because we're getting an outside company to do it. If we clean it up in-house,
You still have that's the West State, you still have to have the permits from TCEQ and the Texas School Commission.
right, I'm gonna understand that, but I mean, you've got 2 employees right now that you've got to have to document everything that if you get a contractor to get. So that's 2 full-time employees. I'm starting to think now that maybe what we're gonna have to do is each precinct is gonna have to throw an employee into this, into a brush crew, and we're just going to start cleaning it up ourselves.
Which it was my understanding from the Rockland County contracts that those people were included in those monitors, they weren't county. The county just oversaw the project as a whole, but those, and I could be wrong.
that's not what it says in the bid.
Okay,
the
I
bid.
looked at, but
The bid,
I looked at a bunch.
bid is very specific that a county employee's gotta be there to hand out the load ticket. And a county employee has to be there when to sign the load ticket when it's completed.
So I'll look again, I looked at Trinity County, Rockland County, Midlothian, I looked at a bunch of those projects.
But FEMA would reimburse the county employee for that work, 75% of it, if they reimburse it.
That could be more than 2 employees. If they've got multiple crews working. around
Yeah.
the precinct.
Oh, yeah, it could be yes.
That's where I was going to.
Right, 8 of, say you got 2.
I'm talking about a minimum of 2.
Yeah,
You know, but you know,
and if we're gonna try to work 7 days a week, now you've got 2 just at the site.
But keep in mind too, that those contracts that FEMA has put out, I mean, that Rockland County did, can be changed to anything we want them to be. They don't have to be specifically just like that. The requirements do, as far as the permitting and all that kind of stuff, that's the same thing, but we may not be at 7 days a week for 6 months. I mean, I don't know, I can only tell you about the degree that we have. This is how much we bought, we have.
And also, you know, my concern is, I've seen some of the big trees that are by my house. I mean, we have to put the safety of our county employees. Cut with the saws and cutting all that up.
I don't think we should do it in-house. I mean, we're gonna, I strongly think we should contract somebody, whether we use FEMA or not,
We wouldn't want anybody to get hurt.
you know. Yeah. I think we should contract no matter what.
Well, I'm good with that, but I just can't cover it out of my budget. I can't afford the
Yeah,
contract.
it would have
It'll
to,
go out the general fund, right?
yeah,
Is
it
that
go
what
to
we're talking
contingency,
about?
come out of contingency
Contingency.
is what it would come out of.
Yeah, our budgets couldn't cover it.
I don't know if there's enough money in contingencies to cover it.
You want to pull a reserve, you want to set aside a special account for if you're gonna do it yourselves. You said we could verify whether we got to provide those employees or whether the contractor and the consultant can actually do that.
We can write it, like we can write a contract. It doesn't have to be exactly the way Baldwin's. Baldwin's got a whole lot of written. Baldwin's a lot bigger than. Baldwin's probably got a lot of money.
I promise you they got.
Those things. So that contract can be modified for our needs, for what will work for us.
And that's what we have approved going out to a grant manager to get an RFP or an RFP to find a grant manager who would then in turn write the RFPs that we could customize to our needs. So we've already approved that. It's just a matter of following through with it and getting it done.
So is the state, you say a grant manager, is the state giving grants for this?
Thing is,
FEMA's to prove.
Thing is the grant,
Yeah,
but you gotta go by.
Yeah.
These
you
guidelines.
gotta go by there.
And all that.
pretty much.
The money's there. Do you wanna pass up FEMA money? And you county money? I mean,
Well, the question is, could the county do it cheaper? That's, you know, and we can go out and do the bid process and then decide not to do it ourselves.
What's the cost and reward? Like, if we did it ourselves, what is it gonna cost us? If we went the FEMA route, it's gonna cost us more because we gotta hire these employees, but we get 75, maybe we get 75% of it back. So how much are we actually saving?
Well, I didn't mean not to get the FEMA money when I said us paying it ourselves. I'm saying let's do it ourselves and FEMA pay us. I understand your deal on the safety net. I've never said don't get the FEMA money. No, I wouldn't want,
But-
it's just like the roads I'm gonna fix. I'm gonna fix the roads in-house, but I'm expecting FEMA to help me with it.
But if we did it this is my opinion, if we did it ourselves, we'd be working for however long to get this debris. And then that's just gonna put us this far behind on the roads and everything else. Well, we're sacrificing to do this over here, and now this is falling apart.
Well, I agree with that. But correct me if I'm wrong, I thought it's already established. We know how much debris is out there and FEMA is paying X amount per cubic yard of debris, no matter what. If it costs us $500,000 to get rid of it, if it costs us $100,000, FEMA's only paying X amount per cubic yard. Is that not?
Well, I don't know that it's that amount, but I know what we figure debris at, and I know there is room in there for going up some on that.
Now FEMA will pay for, if they'll agree, yeah, we'll pay 75% of that contract. Let's go with contract, I'm ready. So, but I didn't know how they pay. I didn't know if they take our quote, our bid that we get, and they say, sure, we're gonna pay 75% of that.
Well, the bid would have to be spec'd out to meet FEMA standards.
Understand?
So there wouldn't be as long as that occurs and we accept a bid, they approve the bid, that we've done, then they should.
Play by their rules, but if they pay 75% of that contract, then yes, we're going to contract.
So we're looking at how much, road damage did we say we had? In the, well, no, road damage and, the time spent cutting up the trees, the first grant. I'm not talking about the debris.
So total claim on category B and category C, which was the emergency protective measures and the roads and bridges.
1.8 million. So if we have that, basically, if they disallowed half that, I would just say it's 1 million. And then, we would, they would reimburse us 75%, so we're looking at 750,000.
We're looking at about with the 1.8 million, you're looking at about 1.3 to 1.4 million to get back
Well,
out of the 1.8.
the 1.8 is subject to determination because
Yes.
the people, not all the people that were consistent in the manner in which they valued the debris or the damage, and that may be disallowed. So that's why I'm saying,
And I know that there's some good things like that in there, on some of that, so. I don't know exactly how much of that will come back out because they were duplicates or because. They were error when I put in there, it should have been 10,000, whatever, that can just, whatever. But those things will have to come back out, but I don't think there's gonna be enough. To have to come back out that it's gonna make a significant.
you don't think there's gonna be,
Typically, you'll find just as many errors when we shorted ourselves as you overcharge. When you go ahead and, when we go back in there and review it, if you're gonna make errors, you're gonna make errors in both ways.
okay. So, you want us to move forward with getting, the grant manager to go out for RFPs, correct? Or we gotta get a grant manager, we gotta do the RFP for the grant manager and then have the grant manager go forward, so, okay, we'll move forward with that.
Just if I do the emergency management plan for the management, it says that the most senior commissioner will be the manager. Since that line, so.
And who would that be?
Depends on when you started. Might be hard.
Okay,
But, and we are, because we're under just a declaration, you know, it is in play, but. If we're doing contracts, then that kind of takes precedence over that.
what takes precedent over what? I don't,
The contracts for these different service providers should take, that person would be included in that.
okay,
It would be me until December 31st. Then it'll roll.
okay,
Well, we did that. I think, yeah, Keith would be the name on there, but I think I should probably do it. That way I know what's going on come January, even though he's the name on there.
The Mauritian is maybe, I don't know.
Oh,
Okay, it'll be me then.
The breeze gonna be picked up by this November?
Oh, 6 months.
6 months from the date of the disaster
Maybe
declaration.
get through all the RFP processes by then.
that's why we get one extension.
Yes, that's all that is.
All right, anything else on the FEMA stuff? Okay, the budget, any questions about well, other than the tax, I've talked to the Emily at the appraisal district, and she's referring us to Linebarger and their tax attorneys. And they were not, none of them would be available today to meet in our workshop. So I need to schedule them to come to talk to us in the workshop. So are y'all available next week? You ready?
I got a question on the budget. I told Chad this a while ago, I hadn't had a chance to tell Keith about the meeting me, you and the sheriff had with the architects on the jail
Mm-hmm.
and what it would cost, what was it, 60,000? That was theirs, that's the only one we got, but to do to give us a plan,
Right.
I think we need to put that in the budget for next year and get to
Okay.
working on it. But like I said, I told Chad just 10 minutes ago that we met with him and I hadn't really had a chance to tell Keith what went on with it. But,
Okay.
I think we need to. I think we need
Yeah,
to get that
plan.
ball rolling, see what we can do with it. Cause I've been to two not town hall meetings, but 2 meetings, one in precinct 4 and then the one last night. And jail got brought up on all of them. And from my gathering, if you educate them, everybody's nodding, they agree. And they see the point. And it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when, but we gotta do it. And I think we should just get the ball rolling on it.
Okay.
Is that price, what is that, a whole new complex or remodel or going?
This was a new complex. Wasn't it, Judge?
Yes,
Talking about-
it was a master plan that would include a jail and possibly a judicial complex for courtrooms. But it's not going to be built all at once. It would be stages, and they would come up with the different stages for which it would be feasible to do it. And that the jail would be for what, 280, somewhere around 280, 300 cells or capacity, with the option to add,
Add on later.
additional if we needed to. So in other words, modular type so that we can focus on growth and not be landlocked or not be hindered with that if we needed to do it. So again, it's a planning process, and drawings kind of it's not the detail construction type of drawings. It's just the planning stage. And that was their estimate, was 60,000, and it may be others, it may be something that we either we can put out for bid, or we can just go with the company and ask them to put together a plan, because there's not a formal drawings required for it.
This company was out of Dallas, so they're pretty local.
Well, you can't, it's over 50,000, you gotta put it out for bid.
That's right.
Am I correct, Ms. Hill?
Well,
We've
What is the range here?
Yeah, we've discussed that. We can.
yeah, you discussed that. Judge.
Professional services can be exempted from bidding process,
For discretionary.
right? And stuff bought through buy board can be exempted from.
Well, you just got, sooner or later, guys, we've got to get the public involved. So you're gonna spend $60,000, and then the public come back and say, no, we don't mind you remodeling that jail out there, but I'm not for building a new jail. Sooner or later, you're gonna have to get with the people and see what the people wanna do.
And part of the cost in this was that they'll drive out here and I agree, we have to do the town hall meetings and have to go to the public, and they will drive out here and give their proposal or their thoughts or vision, and just their input, I guess, is the word.
Right.
That's part of it.
But we have to have enough information to present to them
Yes.
first, and this is what it is an information gathering on what it is that we want to propose, and what the potential cost is going to be.
But we got to know something before we can go to the public.
Well, I understand, Brandon, but we spent just like the KSA report. The previous court spent $40,000 to tell us that our roads weren't good. Okay,
Yeah.
I don't need to give them $60,000 to tell me we need a new complex. I know we need something done at the jail. But we gotta, when you're looking at remodeling what we've got here versus spending millions and millions and millions of dollars on a new complex, and you want to redo a courthouse to stay in it. So let's go out here and build a new complex and have a brand new courthouse remodeled here.
But we haven't
What's
agreed
the
to
reason,
anything,
Van Zandt County?
but we gotta figure something out.
I understand, but it don't start by throwing $60,000 at something that you don't know where you're gonna go. I'm for doing it, but we gotta do some figuring here. You're gonna have to throw some bond issues out there to the people. Hey, do y'all want a new justice center? If they say no, then okay, then don't do that. Okay, you wanna remodel the jail? Okay, yeah, we'll remodel the jail. You're gonna have to throw some questions out there to the people.
That's where 60,000 comes in. If you're gonna throw out there, do y'all want a complex? You gotta spend this 60,000, so you know what the complex is, what it's gonna cost, you know what to present to people. That's the chicken and egg question here. Yeah, and you're right, I gotta decide what direction you want to proceed with it.
I think it's been thrown out there to the public, not a lot of it, but the word is getting out there that we're talking about a jail. But kind of to Chad's point, we gotta know some numbers to give them an idea. It's like, hey, and say we do spend this $60,000 and get a plan and get a cost.
That's not, he just said that wasn't a cost. That's just a plan. We're just paying for a plan.
The 60,000 gives you the plan, the cost to build it, right? That gives you
That was gonna give us a
that gives
cost.
you everything you would need for the bond election to tell people this is what it's gonna cost, this is what the bond will be. Is that what that does?
Yes, they gave us they said they would give us an approximate cost. I mean, I'll double check on it, but I mean, I'm pretty sure they'd give us a cost on what this complex would cost.
Keep in mind, I had a brief conversation in the hallway a while ago.
You know,
And this does not include the land. This is just the building. When we gotta look at a piece of property to get, this is just the building, not the land. But they did say they would have a cost in it, but I will double check that.
You gotta have a footprint to know what land to get.
But we've been talking about this, or the court, has been talking about this for 6, 7, 8 years now.
Well, I agree, but the court's also been talking about remodeling that building out there and not building a whole new complex.
And we ain't done a damn thing.
And you gotta do the same.
So how you
footprint.
gonna get one cost and not get another?
Same, you gotta do the same thing with it. You gotta figure out what that's gonna cost.
My personal opinion is the way this county is growing and is gonna continue to grow. I mean, this will be a different county in 20 years from now. That jail's not gonna be able to withstand 20 years. I mean, it may withstand 10 or 15. Let's build one for, hey, we got one in 2028, 2042. Well, it's 2040. Now we need some more. Now we can add on to the existing one. We don't have to worry about this.
Would you, I can play game, same game on that one. That one's built to add on to. Now it's 20 years later. Oh, let's don't add on to that. Let's build another one. We built that one to add on to. How do you know if you build another one 20 years from now, when it's time to add on to, they're gonna say, oh, let's don't add on to that. Let's go build another one. Because you got a whole different group of people sitting there.
It'll help if you provide them the land to build it on.
Do what?
It'll help if you provide them the land to add it on to. I ain't figured out why they didn't buy that in the beginning yet.
But I agree, we gotta do it smart. I mean,
Money.
the jail's gotta pay for itself and it's make money. If you put a new jail, and you make it federal, the jail can pay for itself. If it's done right, and then we can make money off of this jail by putting it into something else, a mental facility or whatever else. We could use that to make money with.
Well, I challenge you to find me a jail that long-term pays for itself. Just like we leased out stuff when we first built this one. And it helped pay for it. But times change and other facilities, somebody at some other county builds it and then there they go. It won't be a matter of time, the federal inmates that are maybe in Kaufman County now, may be in some other county. It starts out good, it's good sales deal, but I challenge you to give me a county that's been getting federal money for long term in the same facility.
I don't have any proof, so I can't, but they say Grant County did, but I can't prove it. I don't have the numbers to back it up.
Yeah.
And that's kind of your difference between adding on to this one and remodeling versus building a new one. You add on to this and remodel, you're looking at 280 inmate beds, roughly. And in all honesty, by the time you build the add-on, when you move over there, it's full, and then you remodel. By the time you get that remodel done and move back, and then we actually start housing everyone here. Not PR bonding people like we have been, and then catching the Class Cs, you're not gonna have no room left to lease out on this one.
I just think we gotta quit kicking the can down the road and let's look at it.
I agree. It's going to take a bond and
Yes.
and people
Take a bond.
are for it. You initially talk to people about it, but then when you tell them how much it's gonna raise their taxes, then they say, well, I'm for it, but I wasn't quite for it that much.
But the only way we can know that is to, hey, we gotta get a number. So we gotta start somewhere.
I understand,
So where do we start?
I understand. But you're gonna have to try to figure out what you want. Cause they've all said they're for jail. But ain't nobody said that. I've heard that I'm for a whole new justice system, with courthouses and all that kind of stuff. Especially when you fix and spend a bunch of money on this building, redoing the courthouse.
Well, it'd be no sense. When Judge brought these numbers up today, they're a lot lower than what I anticipated. There's no sense in building a justice center if we're gonna redo this courthouse. My opinion.
Again, we're not talking about building it, we're just talking about planning for a place for it if we build a jail. And there is a point at which we would need to add more courts to our county.
So you're saying we should go as a phase one to the people and with an architectural company on a jail,
That's correct.
and then
But if we're gonna pay
10
for the
years.
plans, if we're gonna pay for the plans, have the plans incorporate where a justice center would go. But it doesn't mean that's what we're gonna be building anytime soon.
I see, yeah, I mean, might as well do it all at once as a plan. And then the money will come in on the phase that we're doing.
Right. We would move forward as needed or when the need arises, but we don't need a justice center at this point in time, but
Right,
we do need a jail. So,
so it'd be cheaper to do the whole, build us or design us a
master plan,
master plan, the whole judicial complex.
right,
Design that for us, but and we'll pay for that, but we're only gonna
and we'll,
build the jail.
and once we have that, then we can narrow it down to what the jail costs would be and going in for that, so based on what our master plan is.
And be cheaper in the long run to do it that way, instead of, all right, design the jail, well, now design this to go to that, but to do it all at once, be cheaper in the long run.
Right. So, okay, are we done with jail?
Well, we don't know if we're gonna put it in the budget or not.
I believe we need to put the plans in the budget, yes, the $60,000.
I do too.
It's just like the courthouse grant, we spent $150,000 of our own money to get the data and information prepared for the grant process. That we put, and you know, we're not where we're at without spending some of our own money in that regard. And you think you need to spend the money to get the plans in place.
I'm not too sure about that. That grant paid for that.
The grant paid for what?
For all the architecture studies.
The grant paid 500,000 and we paid 141,000 out of our pocket. We had to match 10 to 15%.
I don't think so. We didn't have it, Judge. I was here. I don't believe so.
We did. I'll send you the numbers, show you. So, all right, next item that I would like to talk about, assuming we're done with the budget. I would like to.
I think we should, I mean, we gotta start somewhere. And once we get it, we can get it out to the public and we start talking about it.
Mr. O'Pride, do you have any input about it?
Thought we had done discussed, we was putting some kind of architecture line item in.
We took it out.
We took it out. We had it in, we took it out when we were first round, that's the first round. In fact, we had a 200,000, I think, first time around.
What would be your suggestion, Keith? I mean, how would you go about it if you had to do it?
I personally would add on to the one we got. And wouldn't worry about the courthouses.
Or we're just talking about the jail. You would want to add on to the jail?
And I think it'd be a whole lot more economical to add on to what we got than.
So, do we,
Still gonna have an expense.
you still gotta get somebody to come give you a proposal on what it's gonna cost, and that's gonna cost money.
Plus, and I don't know this, I'm just assuming, you start adding on to that jail, and then I haven't been in the jail, I don't know how it all works, but according to that
All
guy,
I'm saying,
I mean,
if
a lot
you're gonna,
repair
if you're gonna
maintenance.
throw $60,000 on your project, then throw $60,000 on my project. And let the voters look at it, let the voters tell you, okay, we like this one over here better.
Okay, we have nothing to show the voters until
Okay.
we pay for a
That's what
study.
it's saying.
That's
Put
what I'm saying.
120,
You
you
pay,
get
you
number
pay
one
for your project, you pay for mine too. You pay for a plan to remodel this one, and you pay for a plan to build your new one. And then let them vote on it.
I don't, I'm sorry. I don't
No,
understand.
you don't, because you just want to go with your plan. I understand that,
And what is my plan?
to build a new justice center. My plan is remodel what we
I
got.
never said that we would build, I said we would design a master plan that would include a justice center for space for a justice center and how the justice center
Okay.
would interface with the jail. How
Okay.
you get the inmates from the jail to the justice center.
Jim,
That's part of the,
Jim, nonetheless, the question is, are we gonna set money back for architecture to design either one of these projects, or are we not?
that's.
And if we are,
Yes.
how much are we gonna set aside?
Which
Yeah.
which one?
It gotta be which one,
No.
how much are we gonna set
You vote.
aside in the budget?
Alright.
Do we need to set 120,000 aside in the budget for architecture planning? So that this can be researched?
I'm all for a plan, and if you want to get a plan to what it's gonna cost to remodel that
You
jail.
can.
And if you want to get a plan for a whole new complex, I'm okay with that. But
Okay,
let's get both plans.
okay, that's fine. So how much money should we put in? 100,000?
Well,
We don't have to spend 100,000.
50 to 60 is for a new one, so
I'd say 100 would cover. It's not gonna cost as much to tell you what it costs to redo that, to remodel out there as it is to build new. I promise you.
They're going to take the old plans and update them to current jail standards and then work it out. I don't know, it ought to be less than what the whole new design would be.
Right. Okay, so are we in agreement, 100,000 in the budget? Where does that go? Does that go under public buildings? Okay. Very good. So we will get that in the new budget to make the plans for that. Next item I'd like to discuss for the budget that we're fixing to put in place is a grants manager position. And let me explain why. If we're looking at a potential of $1 million coming back in from FEMA, we're going to need to have somebody that is responsible for that grant and for addressing all the questions that come up and all of the details that need to be taken care of which is not something that the auditor department can do. It's not something that Keegan and the commissioner, the staff can do. It's something that we need to have someone responsible for. That's their sole job. And that person could transition into the grant manager for the courthouse if we elect to go with the courthouse grant once we're done with the FEMA grant. Because there's going to be a lot of logistical issues that have to be addressed, and we're going to have somebody designated to do that. It's not something that any one of us would be able to do on a daily basis. So I'm proposing that we do a grant manager position in the amount of $60,000 with benefits. That comes up to a total of $80,000 to put in next year's budget. Those two grants are over $10 million total that we're talking about, the money that we're looking at getting. And to have somebody with that amount of money, it's worth having investment in somebody to make sure that things are getting done properly and we don't drop the ball somewhere.
Who would the person answer to?
Well, I was hoping that it would answer to the auditor's department, but she's already got her staffing situation done, and I'm willing to let them report to me. I would hope so when we're doing when we do the courthouse, and they can office in the office next to mine. But we're looking at a significant amount of money that's going to be available to us, but we can easily lose 80,000 by not dotting all the I's and crossing all the T's. And it would give somebody, everybody in the county somewhere to go, especially on this FEMA grant. And they would be the ones that contact the foreman at the different sites that have questions, or Keegan, or Irma, if they need invoices, things like that. They would be the ones to do the detail work, which our current staff can do on occasion, but not as much as needs to be done. Because every item on that list, we are going to have a invoice for the road material. We're going to have a timesheet for the employee that worked there. We're going to have the work order. Has to be done, and there's close to 300 items. That 400 items that are going to need to be documented in that manner. So,
Well, I say if we do this, then we definitely go with the FEMA on the debris removal. Yeah, great.
well, what I'm saying is we don't have to make that decision. If we go ahead and allocate that position for next year, or and if we make a decision to go ahead and go with FEMA for the debris removal, I would suggest we start something this year. We'll find money in the budget from this year to get them started right away, since we have a time constraint in which to get it done.
But the FEMA reimbursement we paid for this year.
So you're not talking about a grant manager / writer. You're more
Not a writer.
You're more talking about a grant administrator.
Administrator.
Somebody to administrate the grant.
Right, administrate the paperwork. Grant administrator. So it's
I have no problem with that.
okay. So, and also the grant, the THC grant, they require that you have an owner's representative, is what it is, on the payroll that is going to be doing all the interface work with the contractors and is on site and active in the construction project. That was something they discovered. The reason why so many of the restoration programs had to come back for additional work is because nobody at the county was monitoring the contractors. So they have specifically redesigned in the new application. It states, and it's paid for. You can up to 5% of the grant can be used, or 2%, I think, can be applied toward an owner's representative. So that the grant will actually pay for this position in that regard
Are you talking about
on the courthouse restoration. And it's possible that this grant administrator could be paid for through FEMA with a 5% administrative fee that they allow us. But again, that's no guarantee.
Well, you've opened up a whole nother can of worms now. Now you're not talking about, some clerical type person to do all the
No, I'm not.
data input and paperwork and stuff like that. That person needs to have some construction background.
No, that's correct.
And they gotta have some kind of project management experience.
Right.
You're not gonna get that for $50,000.
60,000 is what I put.
You're not,
60 on it.
That's what I put, 60 with
I misheard you there.
60 for the salary and it's 20,000 for benefits that make a total of $80,000. So what should it be? I'm thinking that we can start out at 60 with and that we don't need someone with construction. We may end up, we just need somebody to get us started with the FEMA is what it is. And then we can decide where to go from there for the courthouse, but we're gonna need a position.
I'm good with administrator to do all the data input and keep up with all the stuff that you're talking about on these FEMA grants right now. But as far as hiring somebody that's qualified to oversee the construction of the courthouse, if we go that route, that's two different qualifications of people there.
Right. Okay. But we're budgeting for October for a year. And if we don't put it in the budget now, how do we get that?
Well, I mean, if you go, I understand if we go with the grant, the courthouse grant, you're gonna have to have a person separate from the person you're talking about to oversee the construction, a project manager. That
Right.
don't need to be an elected official that's here this year and gone next year.
All right.
It needs to, at that time, if we go with that, we'll have to hire a project manager to oversee that. And he may give the person that you're talking about hiring now to do the FEMA, maybe helping him do stuff. Or her,
Okay.
if it's a qualified person, a lady that's qualified to do construction.
Okay.
I mean, why, this may be a stupid question. Why do we have to hire a project manager? Shouldn't the company who is overseeing it have a project manager and that project manager answers to us?
It's called an owner's representative
That's right.
is what the historical commission wants. They want someone that we pay that is looking out for our best interests to make sure that the contractors are doing what they say they're gonna do or not.
You wouldn't need that, Brandon, if this was steady. If if they're answering to this court and this court never changed, you wouldn't need it. The problem is you get into it and, look, just like we are in the radio system. Chad, if you don't mind me using an example, here we got Chad right in the middle of this, and now Chad's fixing to be gone. And we could lose a lot of time and money and progress when you lose the guy that's been doing it. So you put a person in that position that is constant, unless he quits or gets fired, and then you put him, he's not subject to.
When you say hire, you have them on a contract, it's not a full-time employment. It's just, when this is done,
No, you don't have it under contract. We hire a contract manager that represents us, that's making sure that contractor is doing, he don't have nothing to do with that contractor, and he's making sure everything's done right.
And that's one thing I can tell you from managing this radio system. There's a lot of things I catch and just to make sure it's done to our benefit versus the vendors. And that's what they do. And think about it, you're talking about two projects in hand right now, and then you're talking about redoing the courthouse and building a jail on top of that. You've got 5 years of work for a guy right there. You could create a position until it runs out.
So,
And thinking ahead, not next year, but 2 or 3 years from now, with this, if this courthouse restoration goes through. How are we gonna get the money? To at least the minimum of 2 million. Where are we gonna get that money from?
Well, we have it in the fund balance right now. We got 5 million in the fund balance.
no, if you ask me, it's gotta go to bond. But I'm not sure that's
Well,
part of this.
And again,
I'm not sure that's legal for us to talk about that right now. It's not posted as a courthouse restoration.
Talking about
workshop.
budget though,
yeah,
where's the money going to?
there's
Budget.
there's a lot of preliminary work that needs to be done before we move forward on financing and stuff like that. But we have a budget for next year that we have to consider. So that's why. So we are in agreement for grant administrator for $80,000, and it will start with on the FEMA stuff. Correct?
I don't.
Okay. All right. All right. Now the big one. Because
I don't know if these guys are, all I said is I.
No, I agree.
And
okay,
this is basically an administrative position handling the paperwork.
correct.
They're
Correct.
saying they can't work under the auditor's office?
I've got my public hearing set for Friday.
She's already got her staff set.
I set my back. Set for Friday.
So
You're talking $60,000 for somebody to pay for
I don't think
it.
it,
You don't get so much that pay.
no, I think that's way too much for doing
I
it.
thought it was too.
well, my suggestion is we leave it at 60, but we don't have to hire somebody on at that. If we're just doing FEMA grant stuff. If it's just gonna be a paperwork administrator. But
You're gonna have to,
That 5% fee. Don't be documented. People have documented from the network on the screen,
mhm.
or we won't get that 5%. Everything that I do.
That meeting lasted an hour and a half last week.
That's correct.
So 5 of us involved, but our time doesn't count, correct?
Oh, yeah, officials said that's.
Yeah, our time is worthless.
All needs to be documented.
Mhm.
And it doesn't have to be documented back, in emails and stuff like that. I have a spreadsheet that I document every single day, everything I do. Goes on to something like this.
Have they started entering?
Yes.
Are they documenting their time when they enter it?
I stress that, we were in here, Judge, I don't know,
Okay,
but anything that we do, like, when you and I talked the other day, I documented that 30 minutes because.
You're like a lawyer.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. If we're gonna get that administration feedback, we need it documented. You have to document it, right?
well, if we create this position, that's what they do, doesn't that 40 hours count every week?
If that's all
if
they're.
that's all they're doing.
But if you're gonna restoration grants, they have to see it.
All right, well, as long as we get the position in there, we got it at 60, we won't start someone that's just doing paperwork at 60. It would probably be more on a clerk level. And but it gives us options if we run across somebody that has maybe construction background or experience, so that they can move into the role for the courthouse administrator.
I'd raise to 65 if you're gonna try to pull somebody in and do all that.
65? Okay,
If we just probably somebody retired, this is supposed to do something.
right,
And you might get them in cheaper then, but at least give you something
Right.
to work with if you can.
okay. So Sandy will come up with the benefit amount, if it's 20 at 60, it's probably gonna be 25, so it'd be up to 90. Is what it would be, 65 salary, yeah. Okay, all right, the next item that I have is concerns. There's no way that we've got to get our budget numbers done and submitted in the next 30 days or so. Actually, well, by when? By this month or August, in August. And there's no way that we have any idea of what if we elect to go with courthouse restoration, of what we would end up having to spend for planning for relocation and preparing to relocate, and any work that may actually get done in the next year. And so I am what I'm asking is because of that, that we increase our contingency fund for next year from the current 400,000 to 3 million. And you understand that nothing comes out of that contingency fund without the commissioner's court approving it. But that gives us options in the next year on working with, and again, it's all contingent on whether or not y'all approve accepting the grant. But we are not obligated to spend anything if we put it in contingency. And anything that comes out of contingency has to be approved to the commissioner's court. So that's, you know.
How is my question earlier or not irrelevant, but maybe illegal? We're talking about how we're gonna pay for the 2 million that we're going to come up with. Because that's part, I mean, it may not be part of right now, but we don't know when that budget's gonna come up, and now we're talking about the 3 million contingency or remove it. What's the difference between talking about that and then talking about how we have a way or a plan to how we're gonna come up with the 2 million that we gotta match?
Well, it's not if it has to do with next year's budget. But I didn't know this courthouse grant was gonna affect next year's budget.
I'm just there. We are not committing ourselves to the 3 million because, but it gives us the flexibility for options.
What's the deadline on accepting or rejecting the grant?
August 23rd. I have to go back and
This year?
no, it's 30 or 90 days. Let me.
Well, when's the deadline for the budget? August 8th, you said?
I would file a budget by Friday, then y'all can modify it on the 14th.
Yeah.
Cause I would like to have some time to think about this courthouse restoration before making a decision right
Well, you
now.
can't make a decision right now because you can't tell me how much it's gonna cost to, of course, that $2 million over is a farce.
Yeah,
It,
but that's what we have to match.
no,
Right.
you're gonna have to pay everything that don't pay. Everything you do to this building with the $9.5 million doesn't have to pay, we're gonna have to pay. That includes, like Andy said, relocating, all your overages, overcharges, things that go over what you've got a plan, if you're a good planner, on this being a matching grant. If we're gonna get $9.5 million, you're going to figure on us spending $9.5 million to relocate and redo it. And
We have 3 months from Friday to let them know whether or not we're going to accept the grant or not.
well, then we got to figure out how to have a bond election between now and then.
I think it's gotta be.
What is the deadline on it?
3 months from Friday, last Friday, when we have to tell them whether or not we're going to accept the grant.
I don't think it's fair to the taxpayer to spend that much money and not let them have a voice. I don't think this commissioner's court should make a decision when it comes to, we talking about that much money. That's my opinion.
You're going to have a local election, special election,
Election for what?
to see if the voters want to pass a bond.
If you wanted,
I'm absolutely against taking any money out of our reserve, especially my estimate would be $9 million. We can't pay for everything we got going right now. We certainly can't take $9 million out and project it to spend on this building without voter approval. I'm all for it. If they say yes, let's do it. I'm 100% for it.
I agree. I think the people should have a say so in this.
But
for
I'm not
sure.
for borrowing any money, and you can't do it all out of reserve. You're gonna have to borrow money, and I'm absolutely against, and most of the people are, certificate of obligation. That's us putting somebody in debt without their approval. You wouldn't want me to do it to you.
We even have another election date between now and November. So we gotta have this done by October 25th, 3 months. We have to decide.
Yes,
You can't have, there's no way to have special elections. I don't know.
I don't even,
No.
according to what he said, it looks like it's gonna be October 25th will be our last day to decide. I don't know.
well, it maybe be good, because maybe we'll have a commissioner for precinct 2 by that time so he would be involved in, or he or she would be involved in the decision. So, so if we don't put any additional money in contingency, we cannot work on the courthouse if we'd like to move forward with the grant in next year.
Then we won't move forward. I'm not for spending our reserve on the courthouse. I'm for going out for a bond for that. For borrowing that money, and the only way I borrow the money is through voter approval. Because you'll never do it, Andy. You'll never do it for 2 million. You'll get into it and you'll exhaust your entire reserve on this building. If you don't borrow the money up front and tell the voters what you want.
So how much money do we need to borrow?
I think we need to borrow $10 million.
Well, and correct me if I'm wrong, in 2018 or whatever, when y'all did this, or the court did this, they estimated what, 23 million
For what?
for the courthouse restoration?
12 million.
It was
It was
It
12,
was 12 back.
12, and I said, okay, it was 12 then.
And
It might as well
surprisingly,
double
had
it now.
Surprisingly, it had gone up. It's
No,
still 12.
we've already, we paid for a professional to do the cost estimate. And it was, it came back in at 12 million.
This year,
That's right.
and it came in at 12 million in 18.
Yep.
That doesn't make any sense.
But there's no guarantee on that. That's just what somebody said. It was nearly double when we looked at it last time. We were gonna get $4.5 million, and the estimated cost, if I remember right, was $9 million. Double what we were getting. You need to do the same thing today. If you're gonna get $9 million, you better double. It's gonna cost you twice that. It's gonna cost you 18. I don't care what your man said, Andy. I don't buy that one bit.
This is like I hadn't built a house in a long time, but I have friends that when you build a house, it's gonna be 300,000. Next thing you know, it costs them 500. Well, man, they added this, or they added
That's
this, or
exactly
they
right.
added this.
That's exactly right.
And you ain't figured relocating into that either yet.
No,
I just think you're talking about way too much money for 5 people to make a decision. I think it should be.
If you're gonna do it, you go to voters for at least a $9 million, I say $10 million bond, and let it for courthouse restoration. Which includes relocation, that would come out of that. And if they approve it, then let's go for it, let's get it.
so do you want me to put that on an agenda to approve
To approve what?
a bond election?
You gotta get the government capital to find some, figure out how we go about doing a bond. You can't just go and ask for $10 million. I mean, you gotta have plans and. You gotta have some guidance on putting it for a bond. And that's why we have our bond.
Well, we don't have to get it on a November election. We can do one in May.
But we have to have that, we have to approve that grant before then. If we approve the grant, then we've got to get a bond. If we don't get the bond, we're up creek without a paddle.
Can you return the grant if you accept it?
You mean decline? Yeah. The grant is not paid up front like ARPA, it's paid as you go. As you spend money, then you submit a reimbursement request, and if our portion is 15%, then they will reimburse the 85% of the costs.
So that's what he's asking. What happens if,
Putting all your tax out there. That's my.
That's my next question.
That they offer this grant. But we're putting our money out for FEMA, we're putting our money out for this. Those grants that this gentleman asked for this morning, those are all, I mean, we have to have the money to pay for all that. And then wait for the money to come back. You know, you can get all your money out there and then you don't have any money to pay employees or pay our utilities, the bills.
Judge, we're not against your idea. We're just against the idea of how to go about it.
Well, tell me how we need to go about it.
Well, like he said, I mean, I don't know how we do it since we got deadlines, but it needs to go to the people.
Chad asked the proper question. If we accept this grant and don't ever spend any of it. If we accept the grant and never do nothing, what's gonna happen? How long do we have to do all this? Yeah, I'm all for the grant, Andy. If we,
If we can figure out how to fund our portion of it.
Yes.
yes, sir.
And have contingency money available for overruns, cost overruns. Understand?
Given the scope and it being a reimbursement, I don't know what their time frame is on reimbursement. You're gonna have to go for a bond and have it set in a fund somewhere. You're not gonna be able to roll that. Even without any of the other stuff she's talking about, you're not gonna be able to roll that reserve like that. You're not gonna keep up. Unless you really are careful how you structure your milestone payment.
And there's bound to be an avenue for this I mean, we're not the only ones that would have to ask for a bond election if this happened.
I guess my question to the historical commission is if we accept it, how long do we have before we have to do anything?
Yes, and how, if we want it and we're gonna go out for a bond proposal to pay for our portion of it. And you gotta give us a little time to see what the voters say. If the voters say yes, we're ready to rock and roll. If they say no, we can't afford to do it out of our pocket.
You gotta take it into effect as a citizen, not a commissioner. You come to me, oh, we want a bond for a courthouse, and then 5 months later, hey, we need a bond for a jail too. You might wanna, hey, this is what we wanna do, we wanna put it, you can't put it in one bond, but have it as one election.
Well, that's
I mean,
why it's our job to explain it to them. This
Yes.
is opportunities knocking on the courthouse, if you ask me, just like Sandy said.
If
You know.
if you turn this one down, then there probably won't be enough.
That's correct.
Minimal.
Opportunities knocking, and I accept that opportunities knocking.
Mhm.
Don't think that I'm not. But just don't see how any way that we can fund our part of it out of the income that we have without going to
Going
voters
Mhm.
and them approving the bond and us raising the taxes to pay for the bond. And I personally think they might do it. When you tell them we're getting half of it, or maybe more than half of it, I don't know, but I think you need to, with relocation and everything, I think you need to be looking at 9 million.
I think Sandy's right. If we don't take this opportunity to do it,
Oh,
there
yeah.
won't be another.
No. There would be no point in even applying.
It definitely needs to be done. I mean, it's,
Okay.
you're looking
I
at
will-
the best it's in, right in the best shape it's in, right, doing nothing but going down.
If you got 9 or 10 million passed on a bond and set a reserve, that would be enough money you could roll and make your payments as you're building and get the money back in then from the historical. You'd think.
So,
They weren't real quick in paying us, look at that.
planning grant? Mhm.
That's really. I think for that, six- Maybe 30 days.
Do they pay it in stages? Do they pay it in stages or is it just a one time at the end?
That's reimbursement. Reimbursement grant.
But my question is, will it reimburse in stages or is it a completion reimbursement?
No, well, the planning grants and, as we spent money, they submitted it.
Mm-hmm.
I think I did a submission once in a while.
Yeah,
Planning grant.
it's, so we could, our bank account would handle that, knowing that we're gonna be paid back in 30 days. But I don't see how we could handle the part that the grant's not gonna pay.
When we did the Cedar Creek projects prior, to removing the government, you know, they were $1 million a piece. And I had to stay on top of it, but when it was hit, I had to.
Submit it.
Submit it, right then. You know, you're asking me to. Some point I had to be my job.
Mhm.
You know, I can't be watching invoices to submit an invoice so that we get money.
And
I had another job.
I
I'm
understand,
supposed to.
and Sandy, the person that we're talking about hiring to overlook this FEMA stuff, if we get those dam grants, they can oversee that and help you in that area. Is there any reason why they couldn't?
There's really not a lot other than to oversee, since we have the engineer and the administrator doing that work, correct? It's just a matter of making sure that the reimbursements are getting done or payments.
They can do that.
Could they not do that, Sandy? If there was somebody here to do that? If we hired that added,
Or they can submit the expenditure report. That's it.
Well, we'll add that to it if that works out. Any kind of grant administration, because we got a lot of little grants too that it's a whole communication issue about the person who wrote the grant or requested the grant, and it comes back to Sandy to follow up with, make sure the documentation is done. And I get notified too when things need to be done to the grant.
And I had the question you asked, the county always has to have the answer.
if we hired this person now, when you do your thing next year, could you redo your structure for that person could possibly move under you? I know it's too late this year.
Honestly,
Well, that's what I mean.
Will the district judge have to sign off on it too, since y'all fall under him? Or is that just you? Just you?
Or what you're saying, you would really never want that person under you.
I need a position, but I need to do an optic and watch money. We're growing. I mean, everybody sits up there and says we're growing. Here we are. I struggle every day, you know, with my goals now, the duties they have. I try to pick up the load that's coming in down there, but they don't have time. If the need be, I would, position to be assigned. Next year.
Okay, so there's no desire to raise the contingency for next year. Leave it at 400,000. Is that what I'm hearing?
I don't think they're ready to figure out how we're gonna do this bond. I mean,
But let me tell you, if you decide to take that grant, and then we need money to do something with it, we can't. You have to declare an emergency to get into fund balance.
Well, that wouldn't be an emergency. Hey, the courthouse is getting restored, we gotta move.
You already know, you
Well, we don't know we're doing it yet.
should have planned prior to. So, and that was, Judge Reed's asking about that, and that was my suggestion, was to move whatever amount, because y'all move your fund into contingency in case you have one. So that was my suggestion, and you just pass the budget, and it's down for the budget, if you're not happy with what they're requesting.
Well, I don't have no problem, I don't have any problem with that, I mean. I'm just one, I mean, everybody else could,
I mean,
could overvote me on anything that's different, so. It's gotta come, I agree with you, it's gotta come back to the court. You can,
We're not committed to spending it. We're just
I understand that.
committing it if, you know,
But policy that would pass. You know, if you're moving money out of contingency, it can't just be a budget amendment, it has to be an agenda item, it has to be discussed.
Right.
You can change your budget policy to say that.
and you can throw a wrench in all this, but what if we had those jail plans as a justice center? And it cost X amount of dollars with the courthouse. And will it cost X amount of dollars to restore the courthouse? And the public says, why don't we just go ahead and get the new courthouse and not restore it? Now you have that option too.
there, I don't understand. Why would you want
Right.
a new courthouse? When you still gonna have to maintain this is a historical, dedicated historical marker or site. We can't sell it, we can't tear it down, we have to continue using it.
Oh, I wouldn't. I'm just talking about what if the people said, well, man, we can get this for this. And not have to do this and restore a courthouse. I'm just trying to think what some of the people might think. Not me as a me, just. What people think.
Oh, I'm okay with upping that contingency.
What would be a comfortable number for you?
I've said all along that
We have, how much we have available fund balance right now? 5 million?
That's 16, but,
Right, we still have 6 million. But we still have 5 million available. That's not earmarked,
I put 2.5.
2.5.
What are we anticipating we're gonna need that much for?
If we needed to start working on the courthouse grant, a relocation, things like that.
That only goes if we have to for relocation. Except for, that's all that goes to. If we don't use a penny of it, we don't use a penny. of it.
Right.
no, I mean,
Again, that maybe FEMA money we need for, it could possibly be that we decide to do the debris removal contract on our own. We would need money to do that. That needs to be budgeted.
That would qualify as an emergency though. We could do that. couldn't we?
passed. But remedy in there, then you have to pay for the free stuff.
I mean, I think, you know, just me talking here, at least 3 of us are for going for a bond on our part of the courthouse. I don't know how Andy's feelings are, but that's what you said. Kind of indication I got from Chad, so, I mean, putting it there, it's doesn't. If for some reason we change our mind, that's pretty well said.
Yeah, well, if it's there and say we decide to do the bond election in May. And it passes, then we can get right into starting the restoration.
I agree.
But I need the money in the contingency account.
And I'm 100% for it. Yes, sir.
So 2.5 or 3?
They said 3. I don't know what Chad said.
3?
It's selling here. If 3 covers the FEMA stuff, then that gives us another option there, so I would go for it.
Okay. Okay. So we will make those changes to the budget, the grant manager, the contingency fund and the jail plans. And then I will go ahead and file that budget. But again, we will, and when will we come back and modify? When do we? 14th, and then we approve. August 14th is a consensus here, so,
We're gonna have to have a meeting with Ron before, you gotta set you got to propose your tax rate.
okay. Public hearing, proposed hearing on, proposed budget hearing on the 14th. Discuss and consider a proposed tax rate for the budget fiscal year. So I'm going to, try to set up a meeting for next week. To talk with the Linebarger, the tax people to explain to us what's going on.
I'm not here August 7th, Judge, but set it on August 7th.
I'm not either. That's next Wednesday. That's next Wednesday.
Not Wednesday, okay?
You said we have a meeting with Emily too?
No,
We don't?
Emily's deferring to the, Linebarger.
Oh,
attorneys.
okay.
That's where she's getting her information.
All right. Good.
So, and that's what I told her. I said, look, I want somebody who can answer our questions right on the spot, not say, I'll get back to you. And so that's what they're trying to do, set up the people that have that detail. August.
So we can't even ask what our budget looks like because we don't know what the.
Well, we're going on the numbers, the last numbers they provided, which they have certified. The question is, Emily can't, explain them to us the way we would understand them, I guess is the best way to put it. So we're trying to get somebody that can explain them to us and how that works. Okay. All right, is there anything else? I've got a hearing at noon. So if there is nothing else, I'm going to conclude our meeting for today. Thank you, gentlemen.
Yes, sir.
I'm gonna pass this off to somebody to sign because I don't have time to do it for a while.
Thank you.
No. This is the, yeah. You know.